Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the most powerful system on Earth has quietly begun to rot from the inside. No loud explosion, no single enemy, just slow decay, hidden mistakes, and warnings everyone ignored. What if I told you that the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and the Mali Empire did not fall because they were weak, but because they made choices that seemed smart at the time? Choices that eventually destroyed them. And here's the scary part. Some of those same mistakes are still being made today. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you might start seeing modern societies in a very different way. The fall of great empires is often explained in simple words. People say Rome fell because of barbarians. The Ottomans fell because of Europe. Mali fell because of invasions. But history is never that simple. Empires don't collapse overnight. They collapse slowly, quietly, and often from within. Let's begin with Rome. At its peak, the Roman Empire looked unstoppable. It controlled vast lands across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Roman roads connected cities like veins in a body. Roman law shaped how people lived. Roman armies were feared everywhere. From the outside, Rome looked eternal. But inside, something was going wrong. Rome's biggest strength was also its biggest weakness. Expansion. The empire kept growing and growing. More land meant more taxes, more soldiers, and more power. But it also meant longer borders to defend. Roman armies were stretched thin, guarding thousands of miles of frontier. Every new conquest created new enemies and new problems. To manage this massive empire, Rome needed money. A lot of money. But instead of fixing the system, Roman leaders chose shortcuts. They raised taxes on ordinary people while the rich avoided paying. Farmers lost their land, the middle class shrank. Wealth piled up in the hands of a few elites who cared more about luxury than stability. As money problems grew, Rome started to weaken its own currency. Silver coins were mixed with cheaper metals to make more money quickly. At first, people didn't notice. But soon prices rose, inflation spread. Trust in money collapsed. Soldiers demanded higher pay. Merchants charged more. Life became harder for everyone. At the same time, politics turned toxic. Power struggles became constant. Emperors were overthrown, assassinated, or replaced in rapid succession. Some ruled for years, others ruled for weeks. There was no stability. Loyalty was bought, not earned. The Roman army also changed. Earlier, soldiers fought for Rome because they believed in it. Later, Rome relied heavily on foreign mercenaries. These soldiers were loyal to money, not the empire. When payments stopped or enemies offered more, loyalties shifted. Then came the invasions. Yes, barbarian groups like the Visigoths and Vandals attacked Rome. But here's the truth. They didn't defeat a strong empire. They pushed over one that was already falling. Rome was exhausted, divided, and financially broken. By the time the Western Roman Empire officially fell in 476 AD, Rome had been dying for generations. The collapse was not a surprise. It was the result of ignoring deep internal problems. The Ottoman Empire once ruled over 3 continents. It controlled key trade routes between Europe and Asia. Its capital, Constantinople, was one of the richest and most important cities on Earth. The Ottomans had powerful armies, advanced administration, and strong leadership. So what went wrong? At the beginning, the Ottomans were flexible and innovative. They adopted new weapons, welcomed talent, and adjusted to change. This made them strong. But over time, success made them comfortable, and comfort is dangerous. One of the Ottoman Empire's biggest mistakes was resistance to change. While Europe was entering the Industrial Revolution, the Ottomans were holding on to old systems. New technologies like modern firearms, factories, and communication tools were slow to be adopted. The military, once the empire's pride, became outdated. The Janissaries, elite soldiers who were once disciplined and loyal, became corrupt and resistant to reform. They opposed modernization because it threatened their privileges. When leaders tried to modernize the army, they faced rebellion from within. Economically, the empire began to fall behind. European powers developed new trade routes by sea, bypassing Ottoman-controlled land routes. This reduced income. At the same time, the Ottomans took on massive debts from European banks. Soon, foreign powers controlled large parts of the Ottoman economy. Corruption spread through the government. Positions were bought, not earned. Local leaders abused power. Taxes were mismanaged. Ordinary people suffered while elites lived comfortably. Nationalism also played a deadly role. The Ottoman Empire ruled over many ethnic and religious groups. For centuries, this diversity worked because the empire allowed local autonomy. But in the 19th century, nationalist ideas spread. Groups began demanding independence. The empire responded with force instead of reform, creating more resistance. Then came World War I. The Ottomans chose the wrong allies and entered a war they were not prepared for. The war drained resources, destroyed infrastructure, and fueled internal revolts. By the time the war ended, the empire was shattered. In 1922, the Ottoman Empire officially ended. Like Rome, it didn't fall because of one enemy. It collapsed because it failed to adapt, failed to reform, and ignored warning signs for decades. Now let's turn to West Africa, to an empire that many people still don't learn about in school. The Mali Empire. At its height in the 13th and 14th centuries, Mali was one of the richest empires in human history. It controlled vast gold resources. Cities like Timbuktu were centers of learning, trade, and culture. Scholars came from across the Islamic world to study there. Mali's most famous ruler, Mansa Musa, is often called the richest man who ever lived. His pilgrimage to Mecca shocked the world. He gave away so much gold that it caused inflation in other regions. So how did such a powerful empire collapse? The first problem was leadership succession. Mali did not have a clear, stable system for transferring power. After strong rulers died, weaker leaders took over. Internal conflicts grew. Provinces became harder to control. The empire was also very large. Like Rome, expansion created challenges. Communication across vast distances was slow. Local leaders gained more independence and less loyalty to the central government. Economic problems followed. Mali's wealth depended heavily on control of gold and trade routes. When those routes shifted due to new trading paths and foreign competition, Mali's income declined. The empire failed to diversify its economy. Environmental changes also played a role. Droughts affected agriculture. Food shortages weakened populations. Trade slowed, stability faded. Then came external pressure. Neighboring groups attacked Mali's borders. The rise of the Songhai Empire further weakened Mali's influence. Without strong leadership or a united army, Mali could not defend itself effectively. By the 17th century, Mali was no longer an empire. Its cities remained, but its power was gone. So what do these three empires have in common? They all ignored internal decay. They all struggled with leadership problems. They all failed to adapt to changing times. They all relied on past glory instead of future planning. Empires do not fall because they are attacked. They fall because they stop fixing what is broken inside. Rome thought it was eternal. The Ottomans believed tradition would protect them. Mali trusted its gold would last forever. History shows us something uncomfortable. Power creates confidence. Confidence creates blindness. And blindness leads to collapse. Now here's the real question. Are modern societies making the same mistakes? Are we ignoring inequality, corruption, outdated systems, and internal division? Are we trusting past success instead of preparing for future challenges? History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it often rhymes. So tell me in the comments, which empire's collapse surprised you the most? And do you think any modern power is walking the same path today? Because the most dangerous moment for any empire is when it believes it cannot fall.